Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snitbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
And like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru, movie voice guide. Let's go to the
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. Apparently, our poster wall doesn't have any microphones, so we're going to skip over that until I need to show it. But we have with us this evening all the movie things, Mr. Marvelite as always. With us tonight, we also have Cell Phone Wallet and Keys, also known on TikTok as the voice of Cell Phone Wallet and Keys. And with us tonight is a special guest, voice actor Ted Evans. How you guys all doing tonight?
Good.
Awesome.
So good.
Nice,
So Ted's
nice.
on.
Right?
Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
We
Yes.
can, and you sound all
good.
awesome because you're
I've been-
in your
I've been
booth.
following. Yeah, I switched. Yeah, it was. I decided. I saw the stuff. You guys all had the memorabilia in the background. I was like, I need that too. No, I've been following each one of you guys. I had no idea you were like hanging out.
Oh, that's
without me.
funny.
we aren't now. We've
Yeah.
invited you because we want you to be here with us and
Still
chat
left
movies.
out.
But yeah, you also
I
review movies,
am.
right? You review movies
Yes.
on your TikTok as well.
I do. I just, I can only talk about voiceover so much. I was like, I should
Right.
have something I can bounce to. And it's like, we watch so much stuff. It's like, I might as well throw up a little quick review. So
Mhm.
I definitely don't go into as much detail as you guys do, but I do it mostly just to have a little something extra that I can. Plus, when I thought up TED Talks movies, I was like, I should just do that. Rip
Yeah.
off the TED Talks logo.
Yeah.
And
I
basically
do
my idea,
I do
like,
enjoy your like quick casual takes on things, and you do have some like funny intros and outros that you try to work in there that I appreciate. So
Oh yeah,
I enjoy them.
Thank you.
Yeah, so they're great.
Thank you.
So
Cool.
so Ted,
Thanks.
you're a voice actor. You might have done a few things we may have heard of. Can you give us some highlights?
Oh, nothing. I mean, lately, nothing. But
I saw
I've
something.
saw something. Oh yeah,
I saw Adam Sandler too.
Oh yeah,
that you did a voice in.
I did. I was
Yeah.
Pongo in the Addams Family 2. He's like the
Yeah.
bad guy's henchman. And actually, I initially auditioned for the bad guy, and then they were like, "Oh, well, this is a temp track, and we're bringing Wallace Shawn in." And so when I went to see the movie, I had read for like all these little parts. I had I was like, I hope they just leave me in, and I can tell where it is, because
Yeah.
with these types of things, you might get thrown in the background somewhere, and it's like you're lucky if you can pick yourself out. And we watched
Oh,
the
I
whole movie.
see.
I was like, I don't think they kept me in. And then the credits scrolled up, and they put my friggin' name
Oh.
in the credits with like it was Barbara Streisand and me,
Yeah.
Pongo. And I was just like,
Oh,
Whoa.
that's
Yeah.
intimidating.
whoa, Barbara,
Yeah.
her legs are
pretty
like
cool.
butter. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
That's
awesome.
pretty wild.
It was cool to see your name in there. Yeah.
It was wild. That was a first. I mean, I was in Incredibles 2 as well, but I was like grouped in with all these other people as like additional voices. And for some reason, they disrespect the additional voice people. They're like, here's the cast, and then like a bunch of other stuff, and then at the bottom, like later on, it'll say additional voices. It's usually like the Loop group or whatever. And so my name wasn't there, but it was like in with a bunch of people this time.
Yeah, it was right there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It was nice.
That's awesome.
It was a
That's
first.
awesome. Yeah, so apparently you did the voice for Addams Family in your closet, not the closet you're in currently, but in a smaller closet, or was it this one?
We had I moved like when I initially booked that, and I was doing scratch reads for different characters. That was in this little tiny hall closet. I used to have to scrunch down and like my cat would always come in and like interrupt the recording. Now we moved, and I was able to take one of the walk-in closets and turn it into the booth. And this is where I shoot all my videos and stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love it. It's just my happy place.
That's
Sure,
awesome.
as you guys are in yours.
So Mickey
sure.
is our voiceover guy. He's been our voiceover guy
Ah.
since the real study began, and I know that voice acting is on his agenda. So Mickey, do you have any questions for Ted you'd like to ask?
Oh my gosh. That I would take up your whole show probably.
Oh,
Is there
I'm
one?
curious. I have a question for you. Where are you at in your voiceover journey? Like, what do you hope to do someday?
Oh, someday? I
The dream.
mean,
What's
I'd love
the
to be an
dream?
animation voice. Uh, yeah, cartoons, animation, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
love to voice like a superhero or a supervillain. That would be like great.
That is like I had someone design my logo to look like a Thor hammer with the Superman cape, and it's a microphone and it's a T. It's like all this stuff going on.
There
But
you go.
that's like in my mission statement is to be the voice of a superhero. Hasn't technically
Yeah.
happened yet, but I feel you. That's cool, man.
I like that both of you want to do voiceovers for superheroes. I think that's very cool. I know that
Can
Ted.
I
Ted
just say
mentioned
that
yeah.
I'm extremely can I say I'm just extremely intimidated by the smooth sounds of two people on this panel that
Oh,
I'm just gonna sit here in the corner and I'm not gonna say a word. I'll just blink my answers through like Morse code.
Sounds good.
no.
Blink
Please
twice
chime
for
in,
liked
'cause-
it, blink once for hated it, right?
I was like, yeah, I'll get close to the microphone and actually try to sound like
Yeah,
I have
you
a
gotta get
sultry
close to
voice.
the
We're gonna all talk like
I'm
this
just
tonight.
Yeah.
using my little webcam mic. I'm not even using my mic.
Oh wow.
I feel like
nice.
a bum over here.
Oh,
So you just
See,
sound that
there's-
good all the time, is what you're saying.
Oh no.
It takes nothing. Like, thank you. Like, I've got to stop this from the spittle, and then I've got the microphone, and I pretend like I actually
I
have a
have
thing
that
up here.
same. Is this the same microphone you have?
The M
The
audio. Well,
Apogee?
I got this like probably 10 years ago, so it's probably changed brandings, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's the M audio producer.
That's what I use for all
Oh,
my
M
TikTok
audio.
videos. Just 'cause-
Oh, nice.
So what are you
Now you're
using,
making me
Brian?
feel
If we're
good.
talking about microphones, Brian, what are you using?
I'm
Yeah.
using just a Audio Technica USB. I think it's a USB 20, AT USB 20.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm rocking the Elgato
Just super
Wave
easy.
mic, so that is what that
Ooh.
is. Yeah.
Very nice.
There's they do what they got to do, which is great.
I just know the sound goes in here,
Right.
and then like
And it goes in there, right?
And
yeah.
you plug it
Mhm.
in somewhere. And then, yeah.
Mhm.
So we do have a few movies that we plan on reviewing this evening, and of course, we as always ask our guest what movie they would like to review. And Ted did pick the movie Hustle, and it was between this and a horror movie. What was that horror movie?
Overlord. It looked pretty dark. It was
Oh.
gonna steer which one you chose. I was like one or the other because we're either gonna go really dark and gnarly or we're gonna go Adam
Yeah.
Sandler.
We've been there.
So,
Oh, yeah.
we
We've
have
totally been there.
yeah, many times.
oh yeah.
We spent
Mhm.
all of our last October kind of going there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And again this October if we have it our way. That
Oh, yeah.
said, then let's move over to the movies. I'm going to move us to the poster wall. There is no volume over there, so just bear with us. I'm just going to show this to everybody. So as you can see, we're going to be doing Punch Drunk Love. We'll be doing Uncut Gems, and we'll be doing Hustle. And so we're going to do them in that order. I like to
Gems.
take to them in release order. So we're going to start with Punch Drunk Love. Who has seen this movie previously?
Me.
So me and Ted. Everybody else, this was the first time. So this is Paul Thomas Anderson,
Damn.
and this is Adam Sandler in one of his first serious roles. This is when he stepped a bit away from comedy and took on a quirky character, I guess you could say. Why don't we start with Mr. Marvelite, since you were saying it kind of hit you sideways. You weren't ready for this one. What was your initial take, Mr. Marvelite?
I was glad that I upped my anxiety medication before watching these Adam Sandler films.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that, with the exception of Hustle, because I love that film.
Yeah.
The awkward silence at the beginning of this film almost made me turn it off immediately because I'm like, I can't handle this. I can't handle if it like I almost needed him to like start off with like, would you like a piece of pie? Just to like get me comfortable with like
Give me
anything
the-
else that happened.
Uh-huh.
It's like just start singing about back to school or something like that, and
Yeah.
I'd be okay.
Turkey, something.
But that movie, like
Penguin.
there was a couple thoughts that went through my head. The silence itself was by it like its own character and caused so much anxiety. I hated the sisters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my
Yes.
God.
like
Yeah.
Just
when
shut
he
up.
when he broke out and started breaking the windows, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Thank you," because
You're
I
like,
was about to do that
yes.
at my
Like,
house. So it was weird, like, it was funny though, because it's like Adam Sandler always seems to have, like, there are these characters, like, yes, this is a more serious role, but he's got another character that has an anger issue. This is like a Happy Gilmore with seriousness,
yeah.
Or
and,
analyze this.
like yeah, and it's like just having, like
Anger management.
yes, like,
That's
it's like
what I meant. That's what I meant.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so, like, I'm like but yes, it was very, very difficult to get through. I get it, like, the whole movie was just awkward in itself, and it just like, the whole restaurant scene where he's trying to prove that he didn't break the bathroom when we know he just did.
Yeah.
"Sir,
So
you're
your hand
bleeding."
is bleeding.
"I cut
Your hand is
myself."
bleeding.
"Why would you cut yourself?"
With my knife, I carry it around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it was just like so awkward. So if it I mean, this movie's intention was to make me uncomfortable, it succeeded 10 out of 10.
All right. All
So
right.
that's
That
just
is
my
what it was
initial
supposed to
impression.
do.
Yes.
All the movie things.
But also, it's
Oh,
very sweet movie. There's
Yeah,
such
yeah,
a weird
there
love
is,
story,
yeah.
and I feel like the soundtrack is very like sweeping and kind of dreamlike.
Mhm.
And he clearly doesn't fit into this world, and he finds somebody that he does fit
Yeah.
with, and I thought that was very like I can relate to that, just
Oh,
feeling like an outsider, you know.
Mhm.
okay. And I want one more thing. The thing that infuriated me more than anything else in this film, because if you have any idea, I don't have a very good like opinion of this film because of the anxiety it put me through. Why did he run all the way to the girl's apartment with the piano and it had nothing to do with the conversation?
So the piano's what like kicked it off with her, though.
But he didn't even like, I brought this for you. Or it just he
Mhm.
set it down on
He
the
did the
wall
same thing
by
with
the
the phone.
door where
Like it's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Who's-
say.
I mean,
Okay,
maybe
It's
it
like his
does.
version of being
I'm
sweet.
just
Yeah.
gonna turn
Yeah.
that over here and I'll let you all continue talking.
Maybe that was after the
All
credits.
right.
You know, like
All the movie things. What was your initial impression of Punch Drunk Love?
yeah, like it was very anxious, you know, like but you know, like listening to Mr. Marvel like talk about it too, it's like yeah, so what PTA does really well with this is like he's able to build this kind of like, you know, the explosiveness up. Like it starts out real quiet, you know, and there's like pretty much music throughout the whole thing, and the music and the soundtrack and the sound design help you with that anxiety and build that up, and it just keeps like ramping up and ramping up and ramping up, and then you have these like moments where he has to explode, and it just keeps ramping up though, and he has another moment where he has to explode, and you feel that with him though. You're just like, oh man, like what is like yeah, so it is kind of hard to watch, but also you have to keep watching, you know, and like yeah, like when he like finally explodes with the dudes that hit him in the car and they with his truck, I was like, oh yes, like just like it's like so it was so cathartic when he finally just like yeah, just like yes, and
How he hands the crowbar to the guy, like, here, take this.
it's it back to the last dude, like you're not doing anything,
Yeah.
so you're not a threat. But yeah, and the sound design and everything. Like one particular scene that stuck out to me was the scene where one of his sisters is trying to introduce him officially to I thought was it Lena? Is that her character's name? Um and that whole scene, so a lot of this is all shot anamorphic too. So it's a lot of it is there's a lot of wide stuff. You'll see those typical lens flares from like an anamorphic kind of film. Um and a lot of it is wide, and the music particularly in that scene was like just like almost as loud as their dialogue, and so it made it kind of like that just added to the anxiety of like you're really kind of struggling a little bit to hear what they're saying, what's going on. Plus there's like this accident that just happened in the background with the forklift, you know, and he's just like, hey, you guys okay? Okay, and then goes back to the conversation, and then finally like there's this moment where they do a close up of just him and her talking, and then they do a reverse onto him. That's the only time we see this, like, they do that very sparingly throughout the whole film, and so when those moments happen, it's, like, really just more impactful, and, like, I was like paying way more attention when they were talking in that moment. So it's just a really great job that they did with just upping the anxiety throughout the whole thing. And
Brian,
finding
don't
those
make me like
moments
this
of
film anymore.
good. So yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty. I enjoyed it.
Ted, what was your initial impression? When did you see this first time, and then what was your initial impression? Or if it's been a while, what was your second impression? Oh, we don't have you.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I saw this movie in theaters probably whenever it came out, 2003, 2004, something like that. And this is such a different flavor from P.T. Anderson. I mean, Boogie Nights is one of my all-time favorite movies, and his filmography is so varied. And this one stands out a little bit, I think, because it is such a tiny
Yeah.
little kind of like it doesn't feel real a lot of the time. It feels like moments from his life that were inspired to create this. It's almost like a painting. It's like it's so odd. And I feel you on the anxiety stuff. I think, being raised in like a Jewish household and having, women around you at all times offering up their opinions
Yeah.
of you. I mean, like, and being taken to that breaking
Very
point.
vocal. Yeah.
Yeah, and like when he breaks out and smashes stuff, and even when he's falling in love with the girl, the line that always stuck out to me was like, "I just want to smash your face with a fucking hammer," or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. With
I was like,
sledgehammer,
"How is
like,
that
yeah.
romantic?" It's just like
Yeah.
it really is an odd, and it's a short movie. I want to say it's like 80 minutes or something.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half.
Hour
Yeah.
and a half.
It's
It's pretty short.
135. Yeah, pretty short.
Yeah.
Pretty short. So I liked this movie, and I've seen it a few times since. Luis Guzman, I always feel is a standout in this. He's so funny
Yeah.
in this, but it's so. Although actually thinking about it, like Licorice Pizza, the one that came out recently, had sort of elements of this sort of like memory, flight of fancy, romance feel to it, because the story, like once they connect, it's pretty much over. It's just very
Right.
quick.
Yep.
So I like it for what it is, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite of his works, but it is one
For
that I
sure.
would revisit because I think it was the first time I'd see Adam Sandler do anything like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course I'd love to watch Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Yeah.
First and
Always.
foremost of his
Yeah.
filmography, but this is definitely an interesting flavor for him.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
Yeah.
so I boil it down to like a few moments, like Luis Guzman,
Right.
like when he attacks the guy with the crowbar, and when he's falling in love and wants to smash her face with a hammer.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is so weird, but I like
Yeah.
it.
I think you nailed it on the head too about like there is this like sweet thing about it. Like I was picking up vibes of like it's almost like part of what he was doing was kind of paying an homage to like classic love stories and love like romance films in a way. I felt like those sweet moments that were there were very much like kind of standalone compared to the rest of the film,
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Great. Mr. Cell Phone Wallet and Keys, what did you think of Punch Drunk Love?
I felt pretty uncomfortable right out the gate, like Mr. Marvel, like but the whole film kind of almost felt like a dream to me. And the more I thought about it, I was like, this feels like Happy Gilmore, but it's not funny. You know what I mean? Like if you were to all the stuff he does with his anger and stuff is all funny and cute, but in this it's like uncomfortable and weird to a point. But understandable that he has, some issues going on. I like a lot of the imagery, the color palette, like just the way everything looked. Like I said, it almost felt like a dream to me. I was watching like this was going on in his head, not really like actually happening. The the interactions between he and Lena, I think you said her name was, it was always so awkward, and I was like, man, I don't know anybody that like interacts like that as a couple or that is in love. But then you kind of think about it and you're like, that is like at its rawest form, probably what it's like. a- And we kind of flower it up, but that's probably more accurate to what we do. We just don't see it that way in our mind. Um, yeah, I was like, taken back by like they're selling. It took me a while to figure out they're selling toilet plungers
Yeah.
at the beginning because I was
Yeah, it's
like,
all like
I don't
bathroom
know what
supplies
those
and
things are.
Make sure that that eye
I kept
level for the
looking at,
kids.
you
And
know, yeah. At first, I was like, are they selling drugs or something? Is that like bongs? Like, what is that? And even though they were talking, I still
we knew
didn't pick
more
it
about
up
his frequent flyer miles.
until I
Yeah.
think, yeah, until he said something about flushing. And I was like, oh, they're plungers
Didn't
and
he
the
like
dice. Okay,
smash
that's
it?
fine.
No, he's like banging it
Um,
Yeah.
against.
I love
I
that.
don't.
Unbreakable.
Oh, this is the last batch. Let me get a new one. Love that.
So good.
That was probably like the biggest laugh out of the movie is when he did that, when he just like, and I cracked up pretty good.
Mhm.
But yeah, outside of that, I was on edge most of the time, kind of, you know, I felt uncomfortable, but I mean, not in like a bad way. Like I got to turn this off. Just in like I felt like
Yeah.
it was meant to make me feel that way,
Yeah.
especially with the
Totally.
score and like the underlying music, and then you would get really loud punches of sound at times to kind of jerk you back awake because you're almost being lulled to sleep at some point, and then it was like, oh, this is happening now. But I thought it was a surprisingly good movie. Obviously, like most of you say, probably not my favorite Adam Sandler, work, but it was interesting to see him be that character that he is in like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, but it's not funny. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I never have to watch it again.
Remember, give it 10 years, you may love it. So I can't really say much more than what you guys have said, but there were a couple of things I wanted to note from what you said. Louise Guzman is a standout in this role, but it's kind of for the opposite reasons you expect Louise Guzman to stand out. And he was kind of reserved and quiet in this film.
Yeah.
When he's worked in a lot of other shows, specifically in Boogie Nights, he's boisterous and loud and over the top. And so it's nice to see him vary, and he does have a good range. The cinematography in this movie is absolutely stunning and gorgeous, but most of Paul Thomas Anderson's films are that way. I even thought the shot where he goes to look at the teriyaki chicken, the healthy choice teriyaki chicken, that shot with the really bright lights ahead, and then the freezer, and then the freezer in front. As simple as that was, it's a beautiful shot, and it captivated me just staring at that. The other one would be the shot of them when they first meet and kiss in Hawaii, and of course that's the poster. But that shot down that hallway is just chef's kiss. But that's part of what draws me to Paul Thomas Anderson films is his
And he uses
painting a palette.
Yeah, he uses Robert Elswit a lot. So Robert Elswit shot this, and he's worked on Boogie Nights and a lot of his other films as well. I mean, Robert Elswit has a huge filmography though, so it's no wonder like a lot of PTA's movies look beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta start paying more. Your love for Roger Deakins has gotten me going. I need to pay attention to like the cinematographer more stuff. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many times when you think of how a movie is and you credit it to the director, but a lot of times it's more so the cinematographer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. This movie for me it used to be kind of the bar I set for Adam Sandler's dramatic ability. It's no longer that bar because you guys have definitely nailed it on the head. This is a lot of his early and mid 90s characters, but tweaked for a drama role. And it's obviously what PTA was looking for, or he wouldn't have been cast. But his refining of his method, even over the last 20 years since this film, has been phenomenal. Talk about that more in films. Yeah, this movie does give me anxiety, but not quite nearly on the level that Uncut Gems does. Uncut Gems
I was
makes
gonna
me
say Uncut Gems
exceptionally anxious.
Yeah.
So we do have people like Philip Seymour Hoffman kind of popping up in this film for just a minute, but playing quite the character. Those two had to get real close, and even like he had to push Philip's stomach in a bit when they were doing that moment. I thought that was interesting. I don't know, Ted. You've acted. Have you ever gotten that close in acting before?
No, definitely not. And for a second, I thought you were saying Philip Seymour Hoffman was in Uncut Gems. I was like, what? Where?
Oh yeah.
Oh no,
Chameleon.
What?
No, yeah, sorry. Should have brought us back.
It was a hologram.
No, I mean, and again, I like to stay in more of the voiceover. I don't really like people that much. I'm going to be honest, just in general as like a
Mhm.
people, it's like I like you over there, and so no, I haven't
Right.
gotten that close. But
So this is close enough then. What you're
this is close enough, okay?
I like it. Well, it is. We do have some more time to talk about this film. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up about it? Any specifics that stood out to you, or is it? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Speaking of this Philip Seymour Hoffman scenes and the four blonde brothers, a lot of those interactions really like reminded me of The Big Lebowski while I was watching it.
Oh, I was
It,
thinking
it
the
just
same thing.
I
Yeah,
was
there
like,
was this
man,
like
this
Lebowski
feels like
element,
this feels
which he
like
was
that.
also in. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It- that whole thing, I was like, man, I swear I'm just watching like Adam Sandler's version, like dramatic version of The Dude. So that
yeah.
I definitely got those vibes in those scenes
I
with
did
those
too.
people.
Yeah, yeah.
So the whole
And
thing is a giant scam, right? That like they just call people or let people
yeah,
call them, and then they
yep.
send these dudes out to get what $1,000 whenever they can.
Mm.
Was anyone like screaming at the screen like, "Do not give them your social security number. Why are you doing
I
this?
know. I
Leave
was
it
like,
alone."
oh,
Like
and you could feel it
I was
too from
like,
him. You could feel it from him too. He was like
yeah.
991, and he's like 917, blah blah blah. Blah. It's like, yeah, he
Uh,
hesitated, and yeah,
the credit card's number is one thing, but the social security number, I was like, please don't do that,
yeah.
dude.
Like
Like, what are you
what?
doing?
You needed to verify my credit card. What are you talking about? I gave that to my
Yeah.
credit agency already. What do you need it for? So yeah.
Yeah, more like some that was sticking out to me cinematography wise, and this is what kind of told me that they're going pretty wide and having the camera more physically closer. Is if you look at the edge of the frame, everything kind of rounds off just a little bit, and um, that was like really not. It wasn't sticking out in a bad way. I was just like, oh, that's interesting. They're like really using a lot of wide stuff here, and it was like a 2.35 aspect ratio, I think, which was like an even more, which is like what anamorphic tends to be. It's like this really squished image, and then when they project it, it stretches out to that kind of classic anamorphic um, aspect ratio.
Isn't a wide angle going to create more anxiety intentionally? Isn't that kind of the point of a wide angle? Because
A
it
little
feels
bit, but
distant.
I think part of it too is so they could like when they use those close ups sparingly, it held more meaning for those moments. You know what I mean? So we didn't see like there were very few like standard shoulder over the shoulder dirty lens moments, because there was a lot of like conversation and dialogue, but we didn't see a lot of those standard kind of like over the shoulder shots. But when we did, it was like, really brought you in a little more. So I think that was part of the reason why we saw so much wide and so much play out just within the frame. There wasn't like a lot of like too much crazy camera movement. There's a lot of like, I mean, there's that one shot where like he comes running in and then it's like a dolly shot. He comes running into his office and it's a dolly shot. And he runs to get the piano again, and then just dollies back to follow him break back out. There was just a nice simple dolly back and forth, and you got all this information. It's super wide again. So I think that was done intentionally to like make those close elements, mean something more.
All
Yeah.
right. That makes sense. I like that. So Let Us In Podcast just followed us. Thank you, ladies, for the follow. If you guys
Oh,
don't already
hello.
watch or follow the Let Us In Podcast, All the Movie Things has been on the podcast as well. Have they
Yeah.
aired that episode yet?
I don't think so. I think we talked talked a long time, so she's got a lot to edit through. So,
Right.
yeah,
It's part of the reason I like live. I don't have to edit as much.
yeah,
It's
I
all
know.
right here.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Mhm.
it was a lot.
Yeah.
We went through a lot.
But yeah, so Let Us In, or Just Enough, is more than likely the one sitting there doing that. We're doing an all
Yeah,
Adam
yeah.
Sandler evening, so it should be. We're on the middle of Punch Drunk Love, then we're going to be talking about Uncut Gems, and then we're going to talk about Hustle.
But nothing funny.
But nothing. It's
Nothing
it's
funny.
drama all night, right?
None of them are
Nothing
funny
funny.
at all.
No, yeah. And then,
There's
yeah,
some humor in Hustle,
yeah.
but
There's
There is,
even
there
some
is.
humor in
Yeah,
Uncut
there's
Gems. Like there's a little bit of humor in there, but
yeah, but not funny, haha.
Right.
no.
yeah, no, more
You're like,
ironic funny
"Oh."
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We've got plenty to do this evening. So if you guys feel like wrapping up Punch Drunk Love, we can do that with a quick rating of this. Why don't we start? We'll just go in the same order. Mr. Marvelite, what do you rate this film?
Okay, so I will say this. My favorite quote from the movie is this. Barry goes, "I don't know if there's anything wrong because I don't know how other people are." That was probably the most resounding part of the whole thing. Like he doesn't have any concept of what's going on. I mean, I'm sitting there even at the beginning and he's like giving his like all of his personal information. I'm sitting there like I've never called a line like that, but I can tell you right now, except for I will say my mom had trauma when I was a kid because I was homesick one day and the phone bill came like the week later and it had a bunch of 1-900 numbers on it. And my mom was terrified that I was calling something and she called the number and found out that I had called Santa all day.
Oh,
So,
I
so
mean,
that's the closest. But again, they never asked for my social security number, so I'm good. Because he knows me
Ho
already.
ho
He
ho.
knew he already had my name. So.
oh, 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 that's great.
Oh, it's
Oh,
terrible.
that's great.
Rim shot there. Okay, so yeah, I probably will never watch this movie again. It did not fit with me. I
Oh
mean,
man.
I don't do uncontrolled substances. I think that would be the only reason why I would enjoy this film. And so I think I would probably give this it was worth a watch, but I won't ever watch again. So it's a 5 for me.
A 5, okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Wow.
Why don't we move right to all the movie things?
Um. Yeah. So I was thinking about this. Like at first, I wasn't like it's this. So what I didn't say in the beginning was like it took me a little bit to get in this film, but then when I started like really feeling what he was doing, what they were doing with it, I was like, okay, I'm starting to like this more. Because it started out kind of slow, and I was just like, what is happening? Like there's this car accident like right away, which like really kind of wakes you up from all the quietness. It's just piano just there, and then like so much awkwardness, and then all of a sudden it starts. Okay, so but with that said, I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I did actually like it quite a bit, and like really appreciated the cinematography and the pacing and like what they were doing with the edit as well. And then of course Adam Sandler. I always love when he does this kind of stuff. So I'm glad we're doing this kind of episode.
Me too.
Yeah,
And that's why when
7.5.
Ted suggested Hustle, I was like, oh, this is a perfect
Yeah.
opportunity. I had to get Uncut Gems on this show. Ted,
Yeah.
what was your rating of Punch Drunk Love?
When I saw this movie for the first time, I looked it up, 2002. God, that was like 20 years ago. Jeez. I was in the middle of art college, and so my taste level was like pretentious. So I loved it at the time. Nowadays, because it is so short and truncated, and his other work like Boogie Nights is like so full of life and chronicles so much time.
Yeah.
I just felt like this one was short and sweet, and it felt kind of like an experiment.
Oh yeah.
I love the cinematography. I love the jokes when they happen, but it is very weird. So I also will give this a 7.5 out of 10.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. Cell phone, wallet and keys.
So I love that it's a contained small short story. I really enjoy that, like it had like an art house feel, kind of like independent film feel. Um, Adam Sandler, I mean, everyone's acting was really good. I thought Adam did a great job. I guess overall, I I I wasn't in love with the movie, but I am glad I watched it. I'd probably get it like a 7 out of 10.
All right, 7 out of 10. Myself, I liked this movie less the second time around. I did really enjoy it back in the day. This time around, because I've seen other Sandler stuff, also I think maybe because he took comedy, I think, a little too far, it tainted my view of him a little bit. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it just kind of, I had to step back and go, do I like Adam Sandler much anymore? Okay, when he's dramatic, I do. Um, so I'm gonna have to agree, 7-ish. It's definitely something I think everybody should watch. It's definitely a highlight in PTA's career, but it does feel as quick as his attention span. Like just, and there goes the movie. So I agree with you guys. Yeah. Anybody would watch this when they were 12? Because we usually rate things on that level as
No.
well.
I might have wanted to watch it because it was Adam Sandler, and then
And then it
that
quickly
that
realized.
first 5 minutes I would have been like, change off.
Yeah.
What is this movie? No, I'm with you. Okay, so let's see. Why don't we get our pre-review out of the way? Mickey, we are going to be showing your voiceover short as well. If you guys want to watch that, you can check it out on the Twitch channel. Go. That said, we're going to move right on over to those things. And we'll be back in a moment.
How's it going, Real Study viewers? I'm Sean, and I'm back with this week's pre-review. Truly am surprised I haven't heard of the first movie this week, with a cast like Michael Cera, Ricky Gervais, Samuel L. Jackson, and Michelle Yeoh. Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. Looks like an absolutely fun film. It'll be released nationwide, so you'll be able to take your kids. Looks like a great one, gonna be a lot of fun. It'd be a great movie on a hot summer day to go to a theater and watch this one with the kids. Next, let's talk about Bob's Burgers. The movie is coming to Hulu. For those of us that didn't catch it in theaters, this guy. I can't wait to watch this one. I'm not the biggest Bob's Burgers fans. I've just watched a few episodes here and there, but the movie looked really good. I know the reviews I heard from fans was pretty positive, so I can't wait to check this one out, because what better way to jump into a series than to watch a whole movie, right? And finally, on Prime Video, when a gamer girl gets a scholarship to a prestigious gamer university and join a team, all she finds is bullying and sexism. So she decides to put her scholarship on the line, put together an entire group of girls to take on these guys, take them down, and set the gamer world even. I'm not gonna act like this is gonna win awards, but this looks like a pretty fun film. Imagine Pitch Perfect meets esports. Looks like a great, funny movie. Gonna have a lot of comedic moments and just be a fun gamer movie. So if you're a gamer, this one's probably for you. Alright, that's all I have this week. I hope y'all are doing well, and I'll see y'all next time.
Hi everyone, I'm Mickey, also known as Cell Phone Wallet Keys on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and the movie voice guy for The Real Study. Now, Mr. Snidbits and the gang asked me to put together a little video to show here on the Twitch channel about voiceover. Now, I kind of racked my brain about it, to be honest with you, about what direction to go in. What category do I talk about? Do I talk about the actors, the art, any of the specifics? It was just over and over again trying to decide what path to go. And then it hit me. I'm the Real Study movie voice guy. I am just doing an imitation of one of the greats to ever do it. Why not talk about him? That's right, the man himself, Mr. Don LaFontaine. LaFontaine was born on August 26, 1940 in Duluth, Minnesota. He says his voice cracked at the age of 13 in the middle of a sentence, and these bass tones just boomed from him, and they came to bring him much fame and success. After graduating high school, he joined the United States Army and worked as a recording engineer for the Army Band and Chorus. Now, Mr. LaFontaine continued his work as a recording engineer after discharge and began working at the National Recording Studios in New York City. In 1962, he had the opportunity to work with producer Floyd Peterson on radio spots for Dr. Strangelove. Now, they incorporated many of LaFontaine's ideas for the spots, and in 1963, they went into business together, producing advertising exclusively for the movie industry. Now, Don claimed that his company came up with many of the famous catchphrases that we see in movie trailers, including his own signature phrase, "in a world." Now, his actual work as a voiceover artist started in 1964, when he was working on the Western Gunfighters of Casa Grande. He had to fill in for an unavailable voice actor, and his career took off. He became the head of Kaleidoscope Films, a movie trailer company, before starting his own company, Don LaFontaine Associates, in 1976. Not long after that, he was hired by Paramount to do their movie trailers, and eventually he was promoted to vice president. Now, after he left Paramount, he decided to get back into trailer work and moved to Los Angeles in 1981. Don was contacted by an agent who wanted to promote him and then went on to work in voiceover. Don was contacted by an agent who wanted to promote him for the voiceover work, and from then on, he exclusively worked in voiceovers. At his peak, he had voiced about 60 promotions a week, and sometimes as many as 35 in one day. After establishing himself, most studios were willing to pay him anything for his service. Now, Mr. LaFontaine found himself with several jobs a day at different studios all over town and all over the country. And luckily, with the invention of Integrated Services Digital Network, or ISDN, Don eventually was able to build a recording studio in his Hollywood Hills home, and that way he could work from home and be anywhere in the country anytime. As we know, LaFontaine lent his voice to thousands of movie trailers during his career, spanning every genre from every major film studio. He even voiced the Viacom closing logo in 1990, simply saying the company's name after it had been formed on the screen. And it was during this time that LaFontaine basically had a monopoly on the movie trailer voice. Some of his most popular and notable trailers that he would most likely feature on his website were Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Shrek, Friday the 13th, Law & Order, and Batman Returns. In 2007, he stated that his favorite work in a movie trailer was for the biographical film The Elephant Man. LaFontaine also did a few announcing bumpers for WWE pay-per-view events such as Don't Try This at Home, and he was even doing the opening narration for television shows like Team Knight Rider, Renegade, and Rambo: The Force of Freedom. LaFontaine also did other voice work, including announcing for newscasts like WCBS TV New York in 2000-2001. He also narrated the making of Star Wars documentary from 1977 and television shows World's Most Amazing Videos, Boot Camp, America's Most Wanted, and Fillmore. He was even a recurring guest narrator on Clues for the game show Jeopardy! Most popularly, in 2006, Geico began an advertising campaign in which customers told their own stories of their experiences, accompanied by a celebrity who helped them make the story interesting, and LaFontaine happened to feature as one of those celebrities in those ads. In the commercials, he was usually introduced by the voiceover artist as that announcer guy from the movies, with his name printed on screen to identify him. And he would always begin telling their stories with, "In a world." It was at that moment that LaFontaine had pretty much changed his life by exposing his face and name to a much larger audience, therefore losing a lot of his anonymity. In 2007, LaFontaine explained the strategy behind his signature catchphrase, "In a world where," and it seemed to be very simple. He just wanted to rapidly establish the world that they were transporting them to, and he thought, "In a world where" was the best way to do that. We lost Mr. Fontaine on a Friday, August 22nd, 2008. And his final voiceover role was for a television show, a cartoon called Phineas and Ferb, with the episode The Chronicles of Meep. And he said his final line, "In a world, there, I said it, happy." The episode also ended with a very short tribute to him. And his final movie trailer voiceover was for Call and Response, a documentary about the global slave trade for which he donated his talent. Don LaFontaine leaves behind a legacy that will last for generations to come. Voiceover artists like myself will always think fondly of him. Moviegoers, anyone who ever watched a movie trailer with his voice, will always have a impression of him, will always try to imitate that attention-grabbing power that his voice had that just brought you to the screen and was hypnotizing. And even though movie trailers don't use voiceovers anymore, I still think that his presence is felt in the storytelling of those trailers. So I want to end this video by saying thank you for watching. I'm going to do a voiceover specific video every Friday here on the Real Study Twitch channel. We hope you'll tune in on Sundays for the show where the gang will break down your favorite movies and have some very interesting and exciting points to make from their own perspectives. This has been a pleasure, and I couldn't think of a better subject to focus on for our very first video other than the legendary Don LaFontaine, who is at the forefront of making movies exciting and magical for all of us. There's more content to come. We're going to try to have something here for you every day of the week. Be sure to check me out on TikTok at The Voice of CWK and Instagram cellphone_wallet_keys, as well as Twitter cellphone_wallet_keys. And again, thanks for stopping by and watching. I appreciate it. Have a great night, and be sure to join us for a real conversation.
All right, everybody. That was Cell Phone Wallet and Keys' debut for his voice actor highlight, if you will, and of course highlighting the one and only this time around. We thought that with having Ted Evans on the show, this would be a perfect opportunity to show and highlight that. And thank you everybody for showing up. And it sounds like that was a renowned success, Keith. That was brilliant, and from my point of view.
Awesome.
Yes.
We have more movies to review. Oh, don't forget, we also had Sean there doing the pre-review, telling us about what movies are coming out. So everybody watch Bob's Burgers and tell me if you liked it. I'll be watching it soon. So we're going to move on to Uncut Gems, which we all know from TikTok as Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
And that's, not any one particular person's fault. Oh, wait. Yes, it is. So let's start with Cell Phone Wallet and Keys. Keys, what was your initial impression of Uncut Gems?
I remember watching this when it came out, or whenever it first released on streaming. I can't remember what I was watching it on, but not sure what I was getting into. I had heard the reviews over resoundingly positive. I knew it was more of a dramatic thing than it was funny, and I was down for that. Hopped in, and I was immediately grabbed by the score, the type of music they were using. I mean, that's kind of my jam. That like kind of synthesizer retro wave kind of feel, but it also did a really good job of keeping the tension up and the suspense building and rising and falling. Adam Sandler, I felt almost like he was just being himself here, not like in a mean, I know he's being kind of a turd sometimes, but this felt like natural to me. Like I felt like this is what I do, man. This is kind of how I talk in real life. All the supporting actors are amazing. I love Lakeith Stanfield, like probably one of my favorite actors right now. Did an amazing job. Kevin Garnett is just an awesome guy anyway. His charisma is through the roof anyway. So I knew he was going to be awesome in this. His wife,
Idina Menzel.
I'm about to
Don't
I'm about
pull.
to John
Yeah.
Travolta
I
this
know.
thing.
Adele
Travolta hate her
Dazeem.
name.
Right.
Yeah. God.
She did a great job. Everyone's acting was through the roof. I love the gritty look of the film. It was dark, but he still kept the quips and the fast talking, and it kept it at least a little light. But you just knew that this was a doom and gloom story through the whole thing. To me, I was like, man, this is not going to turn out well for nobody.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't think I've ever gone so fast from like elation to oh my god, like that movie did at the end, where I mean I just mouth drop. I didn't know what to do, and the score kept playing, which is that I was like, this music is perfect for this whole thing. I overall, this is probably like one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, all the movie things? Kind of go in reverse.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love this movie. Like pretty much immediately after I watched it on release. Loved everything about it. The tension that's built in this film is really, I think, what a lot of people kind of walk away from or with remembering. Um, there's one specific scene. I should have rewatched this, but I didn't rewatch it. But there's a one specific scene that involved them in the jewelry store, and the whole like locking that those double doors and everything, and that whole thing was just like, man, like, yeah, that was good. And like, yeah, and there was almost like, yeah, this is probably my favorite of Adam Sandler's performances as well. I was just like, man, he could like just really blown away that he could go there, first of all. And there was almost like a sinister element to him. Like he was willing to do whatever it took to keep, he got himself in this situation, right? But still, it was like he was still trying to keep all the things that he had going still afloat, instead of trying to do like trying to like maybe cut something off, maybe cut the mistress off and
There
try
were
to
like
like
3 times,
retool his
right?
life.
That he
Right.
could have just stopped and cut his losses and moved on.
Yeah, no, but he wanted to like, he wanted, man, yeah, and everyone, it was just, so great. Yeah, the soundtrack was awesome. Yeah, Kevin Garnett really surprised me. Like, I haven't really seen him in anything, like acting wise, but yeah, it was great to see that. Yeah, and like cell phone Wallach, he said, like Keith Stanfield's quickly becoming like one of my favorite actors around. Like everything he's done. I mean, even like his little bit part in Get Out, he was like great. you know, um, just incredible stuff from him, and yeah, just all around a really, really great film. And I can't wait to see what the Safdie brothers do next, really, too. So
Maybe they'll get another muse. Anyway,
Yeah.
Ted, what was your initial impression of Uncut Gems?
Yeah, all the same stuff that these guys are saying. The tension in this one and the frantic pace is, I was familiar with it because I'd seen Good Time, which I also think is just awesome. And this, so I did compare the two to that. This one, it's so around money, like the idea of these transactions, and he just does not help himself at all throughout the movie. There's so many times where you're just like, don't do that. Like, just he keeps he'll get some money and then trade off the ring, and then I got to get the ring, and like the stress of like how much shit he has to keep straight in his mind all the time.
Yeah.
And like, I'm a very
Oh.
forgetful person, man. Like, he just has so many threads running all the time. Like, he drops off Kevin Garnett's ring at the pawn shop, and then he, that's going to come to play later. He gets the ring back, but The Rock is there, and now it's not. The Rock is not going to be appraised for what they thought, and just like, oh my! And then you realize the guy that's been after him the whole time is like his family member. It's just like there's so much going on.
Yeah, there's just raising the stakes, right? Just like so good at like, and it's just these little things, like just wrenching these little things.
That is exactly it. Just the stakes are so high in this for him every step of the way. And even when you think like he's about to pay off these guys that have been hunting him the whole movie, he does the thing where he puts the money out the window and she goes off and that adds to the fact that these guys are trapped now.
Yeah.
In this, it's just it's grating on the nerves, and and that's just it's a ride. It's like such a ride, and that's what I think the Safdie brothers movies have. That's like the thing that you're going for the ride, and it's a shitty ride. And it's a bad ride. You don't want to go on it, good. But it's not a good ride. And it's one of the things that I think the sign of like a great movie is like when you watch it, and every time you watch it, you think maybe it's going to go differently this time you're watching it. I think he's going to win, and he's going to get away, and they're going to give him the money, and nope, it still goes that way every time. It's a great movie, but man, it's exhausting.
Yeah,
it does keep you guessing. Mr. Marmalade.
Everything everybody said, and I think Blind Biggie just made a great point. Thought the movie was very Shakespearean. This is definitely a tragedy. This character was cursed from the beginning of this film. It's funny because you have this character who has everything going for him. He has the makings to be and have everything he wants, but he is letting his own vices just completely derail himself. There is nothing that he is doing that is healthy for himself. And like Ted said, there are so many opportunities where he could just out himself and he could turn this around and it could be something so different. And you're like, yeah, there's still time on this film. It's not going to work out. And the worst part is the people around him expect this from him. When Nadina Mazel came out to open the car trunk and he's in there naked, and she just like walks back in like it's a Tuesday. It's just
right.
This is why she left him, because she'd find him in the car naked.
She's so harsh with a lot of how she responds, and and I think that's the whole thing. Like he wants to keep postponing like them separating and stuff, and announcing that, but she's like, "What it's going to be? Passover, and then it's going to be summer, and then it's going to be this." And he's the only person in this entire story that is actually believing that he's fooling everyone. And
Yeah.
like his kids know it, like the way his daughter responds to him, all of these things, like even like the interaction with like his mistress, like she doesn't even care at points. Like when you first interact with her, she's just like they're yelling at each other, and then she's like, "Okay, come cuddle" or whatever. And it's he's the only one that's being fooled by everybody else, and it is it builds so much anxiety in a way so much different from Punch Drunk Love that I was like, okay, it's kind of like you're waiting for the train wreck. So like I just want to sit there and give me some popcorn. I want to watch. It's like it's the same concept of wanting to watch NASCAR, and and I guess it makes me a sadist in some ways, but really like that it was really well done. The tension was there, and even when you think everything's going to work out at that end, you get that ending, and it just it throws you for a loop. So yeah, I definitely like this film. It definitely kept me guessing, even though I knew something bad was going to happen. You never know how bad it's going to happen. So yeah.
So I think that you guys have said so much already that the few things I can bring extra to this are I understand where Phil being the guy that pulls the trigger on Howie, sorry. Uh I get to a degree where he was because he sat in there boiling and thinking in his head over and over again and how he just kept screwing with him and kept goading him and kept just talking shit that entire time. He did not care at that point that he won. He didn't care. He was done with his clown. He didn't want to deal with him anymore. And he was just going to cut his losses and take what he could because he knew he wasn't going to get any of that money anyway. He was just going to get paid off by the brother, Arlo, and then that was going to be it. So he just was done. And his partner obviously was like, yeah, we do this on Tuesdays. We take out people that piss us off. And it made sense to me why it happened in the end, and it is a tragedy because all that Howie or Huey, calling him Huey, all that Howard had to do was stop for a second, not trade in a ring, not try to make the ridiculous bet, and then of course Arlo screws everything up by pulling the bet that would have made them both 600K or some ridiculous amount of money. So yeah, that's it is hard to watch a character constantly cry wolf and then beat themselves up against the wall, and then yeah, I mean, what good can come from that? Nothing good come from that. But I still was shocked. I didn't expect the like right to the face situation.
It's a good story for Kevin Garnett, actually. He wins the game. He gets the rock.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. He does. He
Doing
gets the
great.
gem. He
Happy
gets,
ending.
it's seventh game. He wins the championship.
I
Yeah,
mean, anything is possible
right.
with Kevin Garnett.
But I would have to
Kevin
say, for Adam Sandler, while this might be the performance of his lifetime, without the rest of the cast, that performance stands stale. And this supporting cast, even the just kind of one-off people at the pawn shop, brought an element that made it feel real. It made it feel like they were in New York doing these things.
Mhm.
And
Well, I wonder too how much of that performance is also the Safdie brothers kind of like maybe pushing him to go places he hasn't really tried before.
that's true.
Too. Yeah.
Was that a
Noticed
tattoo they
one of-
added to his face? There's a little blue mark on his face. Is that a tattoo? Because I swear that's not something Adam ever. I didn't see it in Hustle. So,
Oh, I would imagine, yeah, that they added that. Yeah.
because they were definitely trying to go, as deep into the Jewish community as they could in that realm, and they definitely, they go into Passover and talking about
Mhm.
all the plagues and everything, which was an interesting scene. And then his dad, wait, that should be his dad? Is played
Yeah,
by
It's
legendary actor. Why am I forgetting his
his
name?
father-in-law, isn't it?
My boy
I think it's
David.
his father-in-law.
I think it's not because Arlo is his son-in-law. Arlo married his daughter.
Oh,
So I
okay.
think
Okay.
that Howard is his
Oh.
son, from what I gathered. This was my second time around. I'm trying to remember the character's name and the actor's name, but I'm missing it here. Didn't he just pass not too long ago?
He was an Independence Day when he's my boy David.
My boy David. Yeah, he was also on Taxi. Oh, yeah, there we go. Judd Hirsch played Gooey.
Yeah.
And Gooey, I think, was Howard's dad, just from what I could gather. Anyway, I do think that we should talk about Julia Fox a little bit because she was apparently Safdie brothers muse when they wrote this film, since we all know that so well. But she also gets to be in this film and plays a bit of herself, it seems like, to some degree. But I think standing alongside Adam, she did a fantastic job. I liked her character, and I thought she was getting screwed over in the end. I was really glad that didn't happen, because they definitely they trick you one last time and going, oh, that sleaze bag is taking all the money.
I would love to hear the answer back from Benny
Right.
Safdie as to like what part of this movie she
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
Because it seems unclear. Like, was it the yelling at the taxi cab outside of the club and then cussing everybody out? Was it touching the Weeknd's penis in a bathroom? Like, which part?
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Which
know.
part was
but-
the inspiration? Yeah.
There was one part where because I would love, I haven't watched any behind the scenes stuff. I like literally have only watched the movie, but one of his sons is named Benny. And I didn't know if that meant thus that this was a little bit from their own growing up. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought she was great. Honestly, you know, that meme gets made fun of so much, you know, and she's got such a bizarre public persona nowadays. But in this movie, she was really kind of charming and kind of, you know, she really pulls through for him at the end, especially.
Well, for herself, ultimately.
Yeah.
She's
ultimately, yeah.
Now, let's say that Howard won that money. Let's take it for instance and just pull him away from that sad ending. Do you really think he would have changed his ways, or do you think he would have doubled down on the 1.2?
Yeah.
Double down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
I thought it was really telling when they had him in the car and they're trying to take all his clothes and everything off. He's like, "Yeah, you redid your pool, you did this, you did that." He's like, "You didn't play by the rules." And it's like every time he gets money, he always does something else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that's
I think that's what frustrated them most about him is like he could pay them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
time and time again, like he could pay them.
Mhm.
Like he had enough in his own shop that he could have just paid them all.
Yeah.
he could have stopped
Well,
leasing the Mercedes and paid them off. Like,
Yeah. And I almost wonder if a part of it was, and maybe they addressed this in the film. I'm not remembering right at the moment, but a part of it could be like that, like he was getting something from that experience, like that anxiety was like feeding him in a way, like he was getting a rush from it. You know, he like had to have this
He was,
adrenaline fueled kind of thing, so he didn't
he was
know any
definitely
other way.
addicted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was addicted to gambling. Like I
Yeah.
think he liked the chase. You know what I mean? Some
Yeah,
people
for sure.
they really like the chase, and if it ever ended, they wouldn't like know what to do after
Yeah.
that. They'd be
Yeah.
lost. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
like a
If it
car,
wasn't
like a
that, it'd
dog
be
in a
something
car.
else.
If they catch a car, what are they going to
Yeah.
do? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Did anybody else catch a little bit of the Jonah Hill character from Wolf of Wall Street in his performance, in Adam Sandler's performance? He had that same kind of like that same waspy nature. Not that Adam Sandler as a Jewish person would be waspy, because that doesn't fit, but he still had that kind of persona. He was wearing the fake teeth, and he just had this air about him that was very different than his other characters. I don't know. Nobody else noticed that. All right. I'm alone.
I didn't pick
I'm
that.
alone
I
in
didn't
that
get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. I just
It's
watched
interesting.
it.
It's an
right
interesting
before the show.
comparison. Yeah.
I haven't watched with Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh,
Oh.
that's worth a view. Worth a view. You like Scorsese?
Yeah.
It's
okay.
worth a watch. I mean, I'm not
You
saying
like
it's a guy's movie. Right?
You like Quaaludes? They're referenced.
If you want to
Like
see a
lewd
wacky
and
movie with some excess,
Yeah.
I mean, this movie has excess. That movie has more excess.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's set during the
yeah.
80s, right?
It
Yeah.
is. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
so the Safdie brothers have done very few films. This is, I mean, A24 doesn't run around, promoting the big directors. Although Uncut Gems apparently was produced by Martin Scorsese, which is interesting. But let's see, what have they done, brothers? Stare at me. Let's see.
I will say, like the big difference.
It definitely
Go
had
ahead,
like
Lee.
that. It definitely had that like you could tell it had a Scorsese
Oh yeah,
fingerprint on it
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
sure when you're
Uh-huh.
watching it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like the cinematography, especially when you watch Punch Drunk Love, a lot of that was like so smooth, and thought out. Where this did not feel that way at all. Like a lot of it's dirty, you know.
A lot of
Uh,
overlapping lines.
yeah.
Too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Which was great.
Yep.
Like I love that. Like, and like that was just so real and raw. Like, because when you're in a room like that, like you're not. It's not like, okay, they're gonna finish talking. Okay, now you're lying. You know, like it's
Yeah.
you can't make out everything. There's a lot more handheld stuff in this film, you know. So
There were
I
a lot
really
more
love that.
close-ups, kind of to your point of Punch Drunk
Oh
Love as
yeah.
well. So there was a lot more intimate
Yeah.
and right up with everybody all the time. You could
Yeah.
see the sweat.
But a lot of those cuts
Which
were to
kind
make
of
you uncomfortable too.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how both movies can make you anxious, but
Yeah.
in
Just
very different ways. Like it's very
Yeah.
interesting to put
Yeah.
those next to each other. And the performances, even from Sandler, like even I think all three of these
very
films,
different.
three very different
Oh yeah.
characters,
Yeah.
and I thought that was kind of what looked cool about these films together, because you don't always get that. Any other standouts from this film that you guys think are particularly worth talking about? I know that we're going to have a good discussion about Hustle because folks were pretty excited about. No?
I mean, other than like Brian said with the dialogue, I mean, and the like all the quick cuts and everything, they just did a really good job of putting you in that situation where you felt flustered, just probably like he did, where everything's just coming at you really quick.
I also liked how the scenes had a lot of moving parts. There was a lot of like
Yeah.
it was not just these two characters are talking and we're building up this story based off the plot. You literally had, you had Adam Sandler's how he like doing like even that part where the door was stuck and like they're trying he's like banging on it and talking. You've got the guy in the back that's cleaning the gems that has to come out and bring stuff, and you have the other people that are going on, and this is happening over behind him, and this is going on, and there's this whole dialogue with the guys that are stuck in the door, and like and it was all like all intricate, but all of it made sense and it all fit in
Yeah.
perfectly. Like that amount of like choreography, it's kind of like a dance almost to make sure
Yeah.
everything's set
It's
properly.
also a continuity nightmare for the script supervisor.
Yeah.
Because you got all that
Yeah.
stuff, especially if they're picking up props and stuff like that. You gotta like I mean, hats off to that scripty.
Which is
For
funny though,
keeping that
because like on
stuff
IMDb,
together.
there's the only goof that it has on there is the fact that in the part where he asks his wife to change to ESPN, the title says TNT on it.
Oh,
Like that's the only goof that they get.
funny.
Like, all that
Yeah.
other stuff did really well, but that's the
Yeah.
one continuity error.
That's funny.
They couldn't fix that in post. Like
They
just-
could have totally fixed that in post.
like,
Like
that's
they
weird.
should've just
Like of all
slapped
the
a
things
ESPN
you
logo
could
on there.
fix, that could be fixed.
Yeah.
I bet they were
That's funny.
probably like at the screen, like at the premiere, and they're looking up like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
TNT's gonna be so pissed, or is it? Well, maybe ESPN.
We need it.
Maybe
We need
ESPN
it. We need to
does.
do the cat's butt, the Sony cat butt thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So according to IMDb, it does sound like the Safdie brothers, their dad worked in the diamond industry, in the diamond district in New York. Of course, they are both they are Jewish brothers, and they're
they
avid
wrote it
basketball
too,
fans. So
so,
again, going back to the muse thing, like
yeah, where does she fit in?
she fit as his muse for her, maybe, that makes some sense.
Like we gotta get her in the film.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, like that kind of thing.
probably. I would
Also,
imagine so.
also the dad was a runner for a man named Howard.
Right. That was something else I saw.
Yeah.
So they pulled a lot from their own life. Tilda Swinton is the voice of the auctioneer.
Yeah,
the one that he
I saw
argues
that.
with over the phone. Which is
Sasha Vitelli.
Yeah.
Hats off to Sasha for he's a scripty on this film.
all right. That's awesome.
So I know you're watching, Sasha. Yeah. Well
We hope you're watching. We hope
Sure
everyone's
you are.
watching.
well done.
Well, okay. This have a good amount of time left. We can leave it for a little bit more chatting at the end if necessary. That said, why don't we move on to some ratings? I'm gonna take the lead on this one. For Uncut Gems, I think I rated this on Letterboxd, and I will remain at this level. It's a 9. I think this is a solid film. I think the fact that it's hard to watch and doesn't have the that repeat factor for me. I have seen it twice. I think I'm full of Uncut Gems. I'll wait some time, or maybe if my wife wants to watch it, I'll watch it again. So I think that's why it's going to get a 9 for me. Not to mention just everything involved as far as the acting, as far as the script writing, all fantastic. How about you, Mr. Keys? Cell phone wallet keys.
For me, I would give it a 9 out of 10 as well. Awesome to look at. I love the sounds. Whoever, did a lot of the audio engineering on this put a lot of work into it with all the overlapping dialogue like you spoke of. The underlying score was really good at building tension. Um, I never felt like we lulled at any point. Pace was really good. Like we were going, but we weren't going too fast. It was we got the story as we needed it. Um, Tension built really well. I love the climax. Just that whole surprise ending is awesome. Acting, like I said, amazing by everyone. Everyone. So yeah, I'd definitely give it a 9 out of 10. Probably one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies.
Ed.
I'm a 9 too, guys. I mean, for me, this movie, I can't find anything to really fault out of it that wouldn't give it a. I was thinking like, why is this not a 10? It's such a good movie. It's so well done, well acted, well produced. It feels like you're just a fly on the wall, which I think is such a thing. That's like what's the most about it is like I'm definitely have some voyeuristic tendencies. I love to eavesdrop and I love to people watch and I love to just be in the middle of all this. And it feels real. Like when he's walking around New York, he's going into the other pawn shops, he's going to the other places. None of it rings false.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like about it so much. But rewatchability is definitely a factor that goes into like my 10 out of 10s. And because it is so anxiety induced, like we needed my girlfriend watched it for the first time and she was like, I need a minute, I need to like chill out before we need to watch something happy before we go to sleep,
It's a new girl.
then I give it exactly. I'm giving it a 9, but it is a feat of filmmaking, and I definitely think it's up there with his best work. Adam Sandler's, that is.
All right.
Yeah.
All the movie things.
Let's just keep rolling with those 9s. Yeah. 9er for me as well. Like, yeah, to really love this movie. And just talking about it right now today really wants me to watch it again. And yeah, like what Ted just said to the fly on the wall thing. Like you feel like, man, should I be like listening in on this? Should I be watching this right now? Like they're just like, man, it's like, yeah, and it's such a different anxious feeling, than with Punch Drunk Love, which is so interesting that we're watching these movies and just the fact that like Punch Drunk Love did have this element of anxiety as well as Uncut Gems did, but they just which is like why I love just like filmmaking and you can like get a very similar kind of feeling across in totally different ways, and they're just executed so well, just and with different methods, just incredible. But yeah, like I will say, like this is, I mean, I really wish Adam Sandler would do more of this, something like this. So yeah,
He also got
9 for me.
robbed. You remember he was supposed to be like he won the Independent Spirit Award for this
Yeah.
movie,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
like considered,
Right.
if the Oscars aren't picking it up, it's for some political bullshit.
Yep.
And he got totally snubbed from the
Yeah.
Oscars. But
Yeah.
same with
Ugh.
this past year, it was for Red Rocket, Simon Rex. It's the same kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's like not for the Oscars, but obviously it was an amazing performance.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Mr. Marmalade.
I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm just kidding.
Nah.
No, I honestly this gave me anxiety for all the right reasons. This was an anxiety that was with the character. Adam Sandler did a great job portraying this guy. It did not, his previous roles did not take me out of this. Now, mind you, I had seen Hustle before I saw this, so I knew he could do some stuff that had serious tones. And I overlooking Punch Drunk Love, seeing that before this made this film even better. So I would probably say, like, I would probably go with a 9 as well with everybody else. Like I feel peer pressured into doing it, but
Yes. Give it a 9.
it's got
Give it a 9.
thank you. And I love Roger Deakins.
Yeah.
And so
Yes. Whenever.
it's like I mean the way, like I said, that scene where they have all those working parts and everything comes together, the idea that you come to expect things to turn bad, and when they do turn bad, you're even shocked that they turned the bad the way that they did. Like it's just it's almost they take your expectations and then just step it up a little bit of a notch, and you love them for it. And so, you know, A24 is respected for a lot of good reasons. And it's for, choosing good stories and choosing good people to do stuff. And I think this is clearly it's a good film. It may not be super rewatchable because I think I would need to up medication more, but I honestly feel like this is a good film, and it's one of those films that you need to have on a watch list if you're looking for good cinematography. That's yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, we're gonna. Would anybody have watched this at 12?
Probably not.
Probably,
No.
yeah.
I
would
probably would have.
have.
I would have been shocked at the end, but my parents let me watch this kind of stuff, so it would have been fine.
Yeah.
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 I'd be like,
That's
that doesn't
true.
happen, Gilmore.
I mean, I did see Heat when I was a kid too. So
Yeah, this is
I probably would have watched
not
this.
any worse than Heat, really.
Yeah.
As
no,
far as
totally.
violence. All right, so we're gonna move on. This is gonna be the final film of the evening, and this is actually Ted's pick, Hustle. So we're gonna start off. And what made you want to pick Hustle?
I just kept hearing about it. Obviously, Adam Sandler's filmography is varied, and especially his filmography through Netflix. I mean, he's put out some
Yeah.
duds, like some bad ones in
Hubie
the past.
Halloween.
And yeah,
Ridiculous pick.
exactly. I
Sorry.
still haven't seen that. I heard it was good just to make jokes about. But because of these two movies and other things that he's done in the past, I always am curious, especially when he's trying. There's some movies that he does where he's just sort of phoning it in,
Yeah.
but then he can pull it out. And
Yeah.
so this being a dramatic piece, all I knew was that it was Adam Sandler dramatic, and it was good, and that was enough to sell me on it. So that was why I was wanting to watch it.
And what was your initial impression?
Wait.
My initial impression actually, interestingly, changed a little bit in the credit sequence, because I didn't realize, I was mildly into basketball. I enjoyed the Bulls back when I was a kid, and I grew up in the DC area. Before they were the Wizards, they were the DC Bullets.
Yep.
And I was about it as a kid, and as an adult, I don't really watch a ton of sports. I don't know a ton, but like I know for instance, my buddy Tom, he's huge 76ers fan, and as well as just a huge Adam Sandler fan. And so he'd seen it, and I knew he would be all about it. But knowing the history and the coaches and the players and the non-actors that were in this movie, and I'm sure for a real basketball fan like my buddy Tom, this would have just been like, oh my God, like they got these people to be in it. And it's clearly a love letter to basketball and to the fans of basketball and the people that make it, and getting like a real insight into being a scout and what that's really like. Ultimately, it didn't break any molds for me as far as like, oh my God, you've got to see this movie. It felt like this is a very competent sports movie for the casual fan. For the hardcore basketball fan, lifelong, follower, and knows all the names and the coaches and the players, this is going to have a lot more special feeling to it, I think.
Yeah.
For me as a casual fan, I was kind of like, it was a great sports movie. But it wasn't like, incredible. So that's my initial thought on it.
All right. So I know that Keys is a basketball fan, and I know that I saw a TikTok from Keys the other day after he watched this. I'm just going to take it from there, Keys.
All right. So this movie, I probably would have never watched it, honestly, if it wasn't for this. And I'm glad this happened, because I'm a fan of sports movies. Basketball is something that I bonded with a lot of people over growing up. As a teenager, I played. I met so many great people and learned so many great lessons because of it. Uh, as I got older and you get away from a lot of those people, um, I actually blew my knee out playing basketball, so I couldn't play anymore. So over time, it's just kind of like grew away from me. And I'd say over like the last 5 years, I wasn't even like paying attention at all anymore. Like whereas usually I was at least a casual fan. But this movie kind of like rekindled that love of it, especially when they're playing all of that street ball in Spain,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even when he comes to America, I was just like, man, I miss that feeling. Because I miss being out there in those crowds with all those people. That felt so organic to me. That's how it really is out there.
Mhm.
Um, with the sports stuff aside, the main message of this film, and I talked about it on the TikTok, was basically never give up, right? So no matter, how bad things get, you're going to make some bad choices. Everybody does. We're human. And actions do define us, but I believe that the reaction to whatever happens is what truly defines you. So when you fall down, you get knocked down, what do you do then? Do you get back up? Do you keep going, or do you just, lay there and let it go by? That really resonated with me in the film because was his name Stan, right? Stan Sugarman
Mm-hmm.
was, he wanted to be an assistant coach, and I assume he probably wanted to be a coach or something else one day.
Yeah.
The fact that he kept plugging away at this job that he didn't like, um, and just hoping one day he'd get it, and then he got it, and then of course the owner dies, and
Yeah.
his
He like
son.
knew, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
when it happened, I was like, man, he's gonna lose all of this, and he did. But it was like, his reaction was, all right, but I'm gonna at least
Yeah.
help this kid make it to the NBA. And sure, he was doing it for himself too.
Mhm.
He wanted to, get back to the where he wanted to be, but he at least did everything he could for this kid. And it felt like the Rocky story, like building up. This guy's got all the talent, he's got everything. You just have to get him to the top of the hill. Eh, I was amazed by all of the NBA actors,
Yeah.
or
It's
NBA
insane.
players, how
NBA
well they
players.
acted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Especially the guy that played Kirby. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, man, he's doing so good.
Yeah.
He was doing so good that I was like, I bet he actually does that on the court. Like,
Right.
I've I've played against a
Mhm.
lot of guys like that, and my my reaction is usually just I'm gonna go right back at him with it. So I
Mhm.
when the kid would fold, I was like, man, just the only way to shut him up is just tear his mouth off, go to town. You don't have to fight
Yeah.
him.
Just
Yeah. He was a
So
great
yeah,
sports villain.
yeah.
Mhm.
Agreed.
it's just the inspiration I got from the end of the film. I was moved. Wasn't expecting to be moved by this movie, but I
Yeah.
was.
That's awesome, though. Mr. Marvelite.
First of all, I'm going to say this. I don't know why, but I love to hate Ben Foster.
Yeah.
Oh, don't say
Like
that.
he has just got a great
I will
punchable
not
face.
have
He
any
is a great
Ben
villain.
Foster slander here.
Yes, he is. I
310 to
mean,
Yuma. I mean, he's a good villain.
yeah, he's just like you
Yeah.
just love to hate him. Like I think he's a great actor. I just think
Okay.
he has one of the most enjoyably punchable faces that you can ever have. But like, and it was also great to see Urkel back in a more serious role.
Yes.
Jaleel White as the VP there. But honestly, like I had the opportunity. Netflix actually had sent me a invitation to do a remote screening of this. Mind you, one of the other members of the Nerd Initiative got to go to a premiere and got to see all of the like, and I was jealous, but that's fine that he could get there. But I will say I did not know what to expect in this film. I did it out of necessity when I first watched this because I was asked to do the screening, and I'm like, I want to get into more of the entertainment industry. So yes, I will do this. And I was pleasantly surprised that within the first few moments, I sat there going, this doesn't just blend in a serious film. This kind of like perfectly blended the humor of Adam Sandler with a serious film, but that didn't overdo it too much on either end.
Yeah.
There was lots of locker room humor. There was lots of jokes. There's lots of self-deprecating, but it wasn't to the point of where you're like, oh, it's the bad recipe of Netflix Adam Sandler films. Um, you you had him play this heartfelt character that was so he lacked so much self-confidence that it took Robert Duvall's character to tell him, "Don't ever back down again."
Mhm.
And then him dying to really realize, "I can't do this," which is the whole reason why he invested in this character, Bo, this entire time, because he wasn't gonna back down this time. He had found something that he legitimately believed in, that he could stand with, and he wasn't gonna let Ben Foster's character tell him no. And I loved that. I even loved the chemistry between him and and Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
Like him and his family, like they were supportive, but at the same time, she wouldn't just accept his crap. There was a give and take. It wasn't just oh, let's just go with Stanley's ideas. It was more of it seemed like a very legitimate relationship with chemistry. You had some moments where after watching Uncut Gems, it kind of relates where it's like things that can go wrong will go wrong, but then at the same time, it's that perseverance that helped get them through. And
Yeah.
I think that was a point. Like this is obviously this is a basketball Rocky film.
It even takes place in Philly. I mean, like you can't get more
Exactly.
Rocky than that.
Yep.
And it even gives you that point of where it's like they were even to the point of giving up, and he's getting about to get on a plane to go away, and you think it's all over, and at least he tried, and then you get this like one last opportunity, and he pushes through it, and it
Insecurity.
exactly. And really, it was funny because when Robert Duvall's character gave him the title of assistant coach, like he had the ability, but he didn't have the confidence. This entire film was a journey getting Stanley to the point where not only did he have the ability, but he had the confidence in his ability. And he would not have been a good assistant coach if it would not have been through this process with Bo.
Right.
I like
And
that.
I think that was the point. Like it wasn't just Bo's journey. This was very much Stanley's
Oh,
journey.
of course. Yeah. No
And
doubt.
I think
Yeah.
him being an assistant coach wouldn't have worked out if he hadn't had this chance to quit and to strive for what he believed. Because I
And
feel
to
like
coach.
that was the job interview right there. Was
Mhm.
you know, and I think with him and what he did also gave the daughter the strength to stand in and say, "I'm not going to let this happen." So it really like the story impacted so much more than just the life of this one guy, you know. And I think that's what it just resonated really well with me, and I was surprised. And I'm not even a casual like basketball fan. Like I was literally I literally go through IMDb and I'm like, okay, which of these characters has the same name as their character? Because at that point, I know that they actually do basketball.
Yeah, yeah. When
Yep.
it says
And
as
it's like,
himself. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, or it was funny because it says Julius Irving and it's Julius Dr. J Irving. Like,
Yeah.
why do you have to do the what's the difference? Um,
It's his nickname.
so, but for that purpose, it was just it was refreshing, and I liked it, and it made me interested. Not enough to go watch basketball, but enough to to say it was a good.
All the movie things. What is your initial impression of Hustle?
What they all said.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And that'll
No,
be
I'm just
the show. No, I'm sorry.
No, well, so I had like a lot of mixed expectations going into this one, especially after seeing, like, I was already aware of what he had done in Punch Drunk Love, knew that what that performance was about. Then after seeing Uncut Gems too, where I could saw where he was able to go, how far he was able to go dramatically. And so with this one, I had seen the trailer, and so I was like, okay, kind of intrigued by that. So those expectations for his performance dramatically kind of were there. But then there's also this like Netflix film, where like we had like Ted had mentioned, like he had this crazy contract with Netflix where he's gonna just crank
Right.
out a lot of
I think it was 6
movies
films he had.
regardless of quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it was just like him hanging out with his friends in Hawaii for the most part, like every other one. And the quality was just really low. And so there's that mixed expectation too. And I was like pleasantly surprised after watching this. Really, I've been like a basketball fan. Like, I mean, you grew up in Portland, you're kind of like a basketball fan. So, um, and it's gone through phases throughout my life, especially my adulthood. Like I was like hardcore Portland Trailblazer fan when I was a kid, and like it's kind of had some resurgence. So I was like the basketball fan in me, really enjoy this. And I was just kind of blown away, like the sheer, I was like the NBA fully backed this. I mean, they had they had access to things. I mean, 76ers like back offices and everything, and like full courts. I mean, just everything. They had so much access, so the NBA had to
Some
like
of their
back
trainers,
them on
even
this.
like some of the people that were
Yeah,
training
I mean,
Bo in the
people
film
no.
are real trainers for the NBA.
I mean,
Like,
the sheer amount of like NBA faces that were in this was just like astonishing. Um, not just like the big names too, but it was just like so many, just like you mentioned. I mean, and coaches too. So it's just crazy. I love that aspect of it. So it just gave it a little more like authenticity, to the film,
Mhm.
and yeah, it very much was, Sugarman's journey, really, really more so. Of course, I mean he's the main, protagonist in the film, um, and the thing was too with that I thought was interesting was like everyone respected him for the most part. Like everyone that he interacted with had a lot of respect for him, and obviously the owner Robert Duvall, which was like, holy hell, we got Robert Duvall in this movie. I mean, that's huge. Like I love Robert Duvall, love seeing him, and I mean he believed in him, enough to finally give him that job, and respected him, and yeah, so it really was like this. He just needed to see it within himself. So that's what that whole journey was for him, finally getting there. Um, yeah, it was a great watch. It really kind of like reignited like some of the basketball, love in me as well to see that. So, and Adam Sandler obviously he's a huge basketball fan too. I mean, that's so going into that, I kind of like knew that too. So it was kind of like I can just imagine this must have been such a blast for him to make,
This
just having all
day
that
in Uncut
access.
Gems,
yeah, I
like,
was
and
gonna
I'm
say
Yeah,
glad
yeah.
that.
his
So
his love for basketball shines through.
I'm
Yeah.
almost
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
that
exactly.
some
Yeah,
connections he made from Uncut Gems bled over to him meeting the right people to help make this movie happen. At least that's the impression that I got. Um,
right.
something you were talking about how this movie has. I think you were talking about a certain. It was Mr. Marvelite that was talking about having a certain amount of. Um, oh, I forgot what he was saying, but I was going to say it has two helpings of heart, a helping of comedy and a helping of drama. But it's the heart
Right.
that brings this movie
Mhm.
along, and it's nice to see. This was basically Jerry Maguire, but without all the romantic crap. So it's just
Well
a
said.
good
Yeah.
movie about it really is. It's Jerry Maguire. It's
Mhm.
almost the same story, and the triumph and everything, but it's not as there's not as many tears in it, if you will. Um, and I liked it
Oh
more,
no, when he
honestly.
took a bite of that steak and left the rest of it, I
Okay,
I teared
the
up.
room service stuff was
And those
very difficult.
yes.
Mhm.
But one thing that stood out to me was the fact that they probably made the most epic montage in a film that I've seen. The montage for Bo
Yeah.
training from being good to being
Yeah.
excellent was phenomenal. And I was like, man, the actor had to keep holding back his ability in order to look weak at this, in order to
Yeah.
then show he could grow. And it's
Mhm.
amazing to me how you can do that as an athlete because it's a form of athletic
Well, it's
acting.
muscle memory too.
Right.
Like
And
they have so much muscle memory to not
to
mess
do
up,
it right, that you have
to
to do
do
it
it well.
wrong
Yeah.
in a
Like
form of
yeah.
acting, which is just like, wait, how
Mhm.
do you do that? And so I have a lot of respect for anybody who can play in the sports role, even though they may
Yeah.
seem one note in their delivery.
Mhm.
There's so much more going on with them within their physical acting that kind
Yeah.
of blows my mind. All
Yeah.
sports movies either flop or do well. The sports movies don't really fit into like, well, it was okay. You either get a good sports movie or you go, yeah, another sports movie. And so this one, surprisingly, is a good sports movie, and it doesn't require that you like basketball. I am the
Oh
antithesis
no,
of
totally. Yeah.
of a sports fan or of a basketball fan specifically. So the fact that I like this film says something about the quality of the film. Beyond.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think Ted, you kind of like mentioned that in a way too. Like I think if you are like a sports fan, especially NBA basketball, like you probably just get that much more out of it, which I felt like I did, you know. So I didn't like it was just kind of like a fun little thing to see all these little like NBA Easter eggs throughout the whole movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was
Or
like
else
a
you could
surprise. Oh, I was
Right.
gonna say for me it was a surprise in the credits, to see all those
Yeah,
people. We go,
yeah.
oh shit, the whole time. Wow.
Right. Just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if
I
you
don't
knew
know.
that,
Yeah,
you'd be like, you'd be
like,
spotting him all the time. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but for people like me, I flip through the channels and I scroll through ESPN and I'm like, oh, hey, look, he was in Hustle. You know, you just keep going.
yeah,
No, but you know that montage was so important for the film, and I think like all of this fast pace, like showing his like his increase in endurance and everything else. I thought the most influential part of that entire montage was that moment where it almost stops and you see him almost giving up, and she's like, and the daughter's like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "This is his point. He has to decide to take the next step." And you just see him make the decision. He's like, "Let's go." And at that point, you see him making the strides to improve
yeah,
because it was, and that was a great part about this because this character Stanley sees Bo and sees him for the potential that he can become. Everyone else is looking at him as what he is right now. Like, yeah, he's good, but he's not NBA material. And he's like, no, 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 no,
yeah,
no. He is NBA material because I mean I can get him there.
yeah,
And that was the thing. Like he saw the potential, and that was like the thing through the entire film. Like Stanley could see through the crap of people, like what everyone else was boasting of, and what everybody else was like offering. Like even that one, I thought it was like the great contrast where like he went and he saw this really great player that was not a good player
yeah.
because he didn't work with the
Well, that's
team.
part of being a scout.
Yeah, and
Like
it's like
yeah,
and not fighting for that, but then deciding to fight for this guy, like
mhm,
that was the thing. Like he wasn't gonna make the same mistake twice.
yeah, yeah.
So apparently China was supposed to be the location for the original player, but Netflix doesn't play with China. So
Right.
they said no, and so Sandler was like,
Racist.
"We'll go with with Spain, and we'll figure out a player from Spain." But that's
Yeah.
kind of nice too because you don't ever really hear about a lot of Spanish players
Right.
in the
I
basketball
mean, and
arena.
what's funny is too, a lot of NBA players come from Spain or like Lithuania or like a lot of countries from that side too. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah. So it was great to see that,
Yeah.
them kind of like, oh, let's dig into this part of the world because we don't really see that a lot. So yeah, I mean, China would have been interesting too because there are like a few Chinese players that have made it, you know, in the NBA, and so like that, I can't imagine what I imagine their experience, like the what we see in this film, was pretty similar, you know, to this.
I feel like it probably would have like changed the film completely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just thinking about the way China like grooms their athletes,
Mhm.
right.
I feel like it would have changed everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Bo
yeah, it
was
would have had
raw,
like
right? Bo was from the
yeah,
streets. He knew
Yeah.
what it was like
yeah,
to just
play that
live
street
in
ball.
Spain, and live poor.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been a different like plot element, you know, like
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been a lot more red tape that would have to fight through,
Yeah.
trying to like, and
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if like he'd be able to like bring the kid to America to train, and everything. Like he'd have to
Probably not.
stay in China probably to
Yeah.
like, so there'd be this whole
Yeah.
like fish out of water element as well for Adam Sandler, like probably not knowing the language, and like there'd be some like tension there and maybe some comedic elements as well. But yeah, it would have been a totally different feel for
Can
the
we talk
film.
about the first time he meets Bo and he decides to follow him home in what is undoubtedly not a nice neighborhood? And
Yeah.
his focus is so much on this
Uh,
kid that he's not even looking at his surroundings. And of course, nothing happens. But I was tense for him in those moments. I'm like, dude, you saw who he was playing
yeah.
against. These people were ready to throw down in front of everyone, and
Yeah.
you're gonna just walk around, as this American tourist like guy, just knocking
Or the
on
fact that
doors. Like,
he
come
gets
on,
he
man.
gets on the bus and he like uses Google
Oh,
Translate to
that's
make it completely
Yeah.
inappropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
everybody's looking at
Yeah.
him. No, but it showed his
Good.
tenacity. It showed his
Yeah.
his need to get the job done, and he did have a raw talent. Watching Adam's, and this is where the acting for Adam really came into play, but watching him watch the kid was some of the most intriguing moments for me. I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah.
this kid knows what he's doing, and I don't even know by watching the kid. I know by watching Adam that this kid knows what he's doing, and I thought that was pretty great.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So, all right, basketball.
Sports.
Yay,
Sports.
sports.
That was my
Um,
review. Sports.
That said, let's see. We've still got about 15 more minutes, so we're of course going to rate the film. Unless you guys have anything else you want to say about it, I wouldn't say anything spectacular about the cinematography in this film. I'd say it's gets the job done. It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
You know, I do like a lot of
Yeah,
the
I really like
editing.
that
The
style.
editing in this film is
Yeah.
good, especially the hotels. When he was going through the different hotels, they did a good job of editing that through. The montage sequences. I
Yeah,
love
there
the
was
hills.
this whole like, yeah, they really set up like what life is like for him on the road as a scout. You know, just like, oh, like, do not want that.
Lots of
I can
product
tell.
placement.
No.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say so much product placement in that
Yeah,
first couple.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get it in there somehow. You know,
Yeah.
you can't do the Wayne's World thing anymore. It's been done, so that's
Yeah.
over.
Just like,
Yeah,
speaking of which,
it was
I
just
love
like every
Polar
fast food
so
branch
much,
there
guys.
was. And I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
I
that's
need
probably
to,
what he's
I need
eating.
to throw my trash away real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he just call Canada dry trash? We're never getting sponsored.
Oh.
No, it's
Oh.
empty. What the
Oh.
fuck?
Because
It
he
was
finished
so
it too
good.
fast.
I,
Yeah.
I try to woo Canada Dry anytime I can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would be
Totally.
proud sponsors of the Canada Dry cranberry version, by the way.
Specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys want exactly?
Do we
If you guys
do
want to bring
we
that.
all have to rate this a 10 out of 10 so that Mr. Marvel can go to a premiere?
Oh, yeah. I know.
No, you don't.
All right, good.
Mm.
I want you to go. Just-
Yes.
Watch, it's gonna be for something like another Punch Drunk Love movie. Like I already know.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be
Love
sitting there
too.
like, well, that was a movie.
He'll be in the bathroom halfway through the movie going, man, I can't do this. I can't watch this movie. I can't do this.
Yeah, I'll be the reviewer where it's like don't ever listen, studios, if you ever want to invite me to a movie, do not invite me to a rom-com. I will get up and walk out of halfway
Yeah.
through and come back like in 10 minutes when I know it's not embarrassing. Like I can't deal it. I can't deal with it.
You don't like awkward comedies either? Because I tend to want to walk out of those.
I'm okay with awkward comedies, but it's that moment when the main character does that overly stupid, embarrassing thing that you know is coming. And my illustration is always 27 Dresses when she does that
Oh, man.
that projector thing at the what was it, the engagement party or whatever. Like
Uh-huh.
that right there, I can't do that kind of stuff. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I have
So here-
never seen that part of the film. I've never
love
seen
it.
it.
I love
Never
it.
So I
will.
used to cover my face with a pillow for those exact types of moments. So I'm with you.
You have to
I
cover
get
your
it.
'Cause it's so
ears.
cringy.
You're not hearing it. Like
Yeah.
knowing what's gonna happen when you're the gasp of the crowd of how the audacity.
Uh,
So I have a shameless plug, but
Sure.
there's a movie called They Came Together.
Oh yeah.
That's totally all about that. Just pokes fun of that, which is directed by David Wayne, and David Wayne just started following me on TikTok.
No way.
Yeah.
Wayne. No,
I was
Wayne.
like- yeah, just like a couple days ago. I was like,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I was like, this is probably a mistake. He probably accidentally hit the follow button.
See, I
or
think
something like
Ted and I were talking about a little bit
No,
about imposter
no.
syndrome, and I think you all the movie things have it as well. And I don't think you
yeah, no, for
need
sure. I
it.
do
You
have it
are
for sure.
you know your stuff.
Yeah.
You are a talented
man.
individual.
Oh, thanks, guys.
There's a reason we
Yes.
all follow you. So, and there's a reason
Yeah,
you're on this show.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. And that's true for all
Well,
of
you should see They Came Together though. It's Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just totally like eviscerating like rom-coms, and it's just like, yeah, they have like ridiculous meet cute and like all the like silly like, you know, montages that they do of them together, like throwing things at each other, like being played. Yeah, it's just over the top.
All right, so They Came
It's a great
Together
title.
will be
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
movie
yeah, They
that
Came
I'll
Together,
redeem for
yeah.
the show.
That's kind
So we're gonna have an all rom-com night. 27 Dresses.
Yeah, there you
They
go.
Came Together.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say that you're talking about shameless
Let's
plugs and stuff.
go.
I started questioning myself. I questioned my entire my approach to doing social media at all on Friday after watching Love and Thunder, and I'm not going to give any spoilers. My wife posted a picture on Instagram of us in the theater, and she used almost the exact same hashtags that I did. John
funny.
Cohen liked her picture, did not like mine.
Oh no.
Burn.
And if you don't know who John Cohen is, like
Burn.
we're talking about the producer for Despicable Me, Angry Birds
Yeah.
2. Like he's done a
Wow.
bunch of crap, and
Yeah.
no.
Hmm. That's weird.
The only thing I have going for me is I have the CEO of AMC that is now following me.
Oh,
Yes.
How
So,
I
terrible
own
is
some
that?
stock.
I know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Maybe did you get a Thor popcorn? Dan,
I did not get one,
maybe
but
maybe that's
someone
your
has
in.
gotten one for me and is going to
Oh,
be
okay,
sending
cool.
it to me.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
I've heard some people
I
are
see.
pretty mad they didn't get theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am glad.
happened.
I'm thankful.
And Will Wilkins got
Regal's
two.
lame.
Will Wilkins got two and was giving one away, which is pretty
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
So that was
Regal
pretty
just has
smart.
lame, like, fancy tubs. There's like special collector tubs. I'm like,
Yeah.
we have like one AMC here in Portland.
There's
I'm
one
like,
in
How many
no,
tubs
Corvallis,
do I need?
by the way. You can always head to
Yeah.
Corvallis since nobody goes to that theater.
I know. But I'm like part of the Regal Unlimited, so it's just like there's just so
Oh,
many
yeah.
Regals here. It's easier. Yeah.
I hear
Is that like
complain-
the AMC A list?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got
I
that.
hear a lot of people complain, well, AMC is an hour away from my house. Same here. Like I have
Oh
lots of
yeah,
friends
it's
around here,
not
but
far from
oh,
me. It's
but
just I
my
don't
early
have
screenings
one.
are all at
Yeah.
AMC, so I'm heading to Tyson's when there's an early screening.
Oh
so.
yeah, I love
Oh, yeah.
that's
Tyson.
funny. I used to go to so when I lived in Maryland, I'd go to Tyson's for like
Wow.
the better.
It's
It was
nice.
like a
It's
really
so
better
nice.
theater. Yeah.
Get some bourbon chicken and then go watch a movie. Nothing better.
Yeah.
Nothing better.
Yeah, man.
Now I want bourbon chicken. Thanks, Mr. Marvelette. I appreciate that. Why don't we go ahead and rate this movie? Let's start in the order we began. To Mr. Ted, what is your rating for Hustle?
I like this movie a lot. I don't know what I was expecting out of it, but I felt, like I said, coming away from it, that my main review was sports. So I'm giving this a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10. I like that. Keys.
I'm gonna go 9 out of 10.
Oh.
And my one little bugaboo, and I don't want to. I don't want to do any more. I don't want to do any Ben Foster slander
Whoa.
here. But it wasn't his fault. I don't.
Right.
I feel like his character was very one-dimensional, like a
Yeah,
one-dimensional
no, totally.
villain.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah. Totally agree. I kind of
he
wish he
did. He
wasn't
didn't
in
seem
it.
to
It was
care at
like,
all
eh,
that his dad died. He was just
Yeah.
there to be a dick to Stan, and that was it. So
yeah.
his sister
for
was
sure.
much better. I wish we could have got more of her.
Yeah.
In that.
Hustle
She's on
2.
SNL.
right?
Otherwise,
Yeah,
Hustle
she's on
2.
SNL. Yeah.
yeah, she
Hustle
is. She's
2,
great
hustle
too.
harder.
And
Hustle.
other
Hustle.
It's a football
other
game.
than that, I love the action on the court, the way they shot that. It was very cool with all the sweeping
Yeah.
shots, and then you get in close for like the trash talk, and you could
Mhm.
feel Bo's, getting flustered. I thought all that was great. I love the whole NBA behind the scenes. You learn so much more about how hard it is, and then just all the inspirational stuff. And I teared up at the end when Stan finally got to the NBA
Mhm.
court. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, that's awesome.
Pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
that's mine.
I like it. All the movie things.
I'm gonna give this an 8. Yeah, like really enjoyed it. It kind of like there was a lot in there. I felt like Adam Sandler was like he just felt so natural in it too. Like it felt like he was just like very comfortable in it. Like that was like a really like it was specifically written for him, which it very well may have been. And because like even the comedy bits that he would do was just like it sounds like it was just him just
Yeah.
quipping off the off the top of his head. And so I really loved that. Just felt so natural for him, and that was just made it easy to watch him do that. Yeah, an 8. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Mr. Marvelette.
Adam Sandler obviously enjoyed this film. It was probably one of his more favorite films because it's something that he loves. He's a big
Mhm.
basketball fan. So you could definitely tell he was in his element and it felt very comfortable. Any movie that makes me feel any way about sports is, I guess, good. Mind you, I would have loved to have seen this when I was younger because it would have made me a much better athlete because I would have realized that if I can't play, I can at least trash talk and mess everybody else up. And I could have done really well with that. They the one thing that we never really touched out. I like some of the symbolism in it. We understand, Bo Cruz is, the actor or the guy actually has like the tattoos and whatnot. But I loved how he explained that the one arm was his mother and his daughter, and there was nothing for his dad. But at the
Loved
end,
that.
he has that
Oh,
one
Yeah,
That was really
tattoo that was
nice.
a
so cool.
reference to Stanley, and it was kind of cool
Yeah,
because
yeah,
not only did you could tell that they had a familial bond at the end of this film,
totally.
which was really cool. I would give this an 8.5 any day. It's again some of the sports stuff probably went over my head. I would probably appreciate it more. There was no groundbreaking cinematics. Of course, some of the montages, some of the the cuts and stuff were clean and were appropriate. I felt like the timing was good.
Mhm.
I've heard
Yeah.
some people complain about how it was kind of like it kind of went farther than it needed to, but I felt like it didn't. I felt like that ending where you think they're working toward this one event and then that event falls apart
Yeah.
and they're reclined to, or they've accepted the fact that they're not going any further, and then there's just one last chance and they
Yeah.
go for it. And I thought that was a great way to end it, and I love seeing
Mhm.
Stanley coming in as an assistant coach.
Totally.
It was a good payoff, so definitely
Yeah.
worth it.
I like it, and I do love the mention of the tattoo sleeve. That's Mr. Marvelate,
Yeah.
and a great part of the movie. Myself, I'm going to give it an 8. I think if it were about podcasting and not basketball, it'd be a 9. But since it's about basketball, it just gets that mark down.
Riveting.
I'll have to admit, in Ghostbusters Afterlife, when the kid's name was Podcast, I was like, hey, I like
Yeah.
that.
Funny.
I would have
you
4
know,
points.
Yeah.
it didn't hurt, that's for sure. But yeah, no, this is another great performance from Adam Sandler. This is just a fun sports movie. You don't have to love sports to enjoy a good movie, especially about human triumph and overcoming adversity and all those wonderful things. So yeah, an 8. So now I want to ask the question: we watched 3 Adam Sandler movies. What was his best performance out of the 3? And I'm gonna go with all the movie things first.
Oh, it's hands down Uncut Gems. I mean, yeah, just no question. I don't even need the evidence is there.
All
Rest my
right,
case, Your Honor.
all right, Mr.
Yeah.
Marmalade.
Now I rated Hustle higher than Uncut Gems, I believe. No, I was 9. No, it was about the same. Yeah, I would definitely say Uncut Gems. It's more cinematic. I feel like it had more of a presence. It was a very different film. I love Hustle, but yeah, Uncut
Yeah.
Gems.
Ted.
Uncut Gems. Sorry. I
You
mean,
do it so well, so yeah, you had to keep doing it.
Uncut Gems. Yeah, I think Uncut Gems is. My friend was saying if they give the Sandman an Oscar nomination for Hustle, it is only because they realized they fucked up by not giving it to him.
A
for
Revenant
Uncut
style
Gems.
approach to this is what you're saying. That Leo style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mr. Keys.
I believe I'm gonna say Uncut Gems as well.
Yes.
So I feel like this is gonna be unanimous here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you guys. I'll just get that out of the way. But I wanted to ask, since we did watch, we
Oh,
don't
yeah.
normally watch movies from the same actor, 3 in a row. We've done a couple with
Yeah.
the same director, but never the same actor.
When are we gonna do a Deacons episode?
We should do a Deacons episode. I think
I was
that would
like
be
literally
fantastic.
just about to like
I wanted to cut you at the chase.
claim some points.
Yeah.
Because literally, Bridget cut me off when I wanted to talk about the way he was going at Bo at the beginning. So I figured I had to cut somebody else off, and I knew that was coming.
Oh yeah.
So that said, we do have an episode for Brendan Fraser coming up because there was a request for an all Brendan Fraser episode. We will have that. So that should be interesting. I'm still not sure what films those will be, but
Mummy Returns and Mummy of the.
we'll just do all 3 Mummy
Just all
films.
the
Mummy trilogy.
I was really hoping we'd avoid any of the Mummy
Journey of the
movies, but
Center of the Earth?
maybe Journey 2. Yeah, let's do that.
No, the first
Looney
one. First
Tunes.
one.
George of
Oh
the
no,
Jungle.
2 was The Rock. That's right. Yeah, I get those confused.
George of the Jungle. I love doing that.
Yeah.
Or Dudley Do
So
Right.
good.
Encino,
Yeah.
man.
Oh,
Encino.
Encino.
Man.
yeah.
Bedazzled.
Hands down.
I mean, we have a few to choose from for
Oh,
sure.
wait, what was the one? What was the one where he was in a bunker and he comes out?
Oh,
Blast from the
yeah.
Past.
Blast from the
Past.
Past.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that movie.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Christopher
That's
Walken
really
in that one.
good. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Oh,
So, yeah.
man.
That was he was the actor that if I knew he was doing a film, I didn't care what it was. I was going to watch it.
Funny.
That's
Mhm.
fair.
Yeah.
No, he was good. I mean, he's still good. I'm not saying he wasn't.
So
But
interesting.
it's nice to see him
see-
research.
Yeah, see him in Batgirl. Very interested to see that.
Ah.
Yeah.
Wait, he's in Batgirl? He's gonna be in Batgirl?
Yeah. He's the.
They're
he's
still
the
setting
bad
that in the
guy.
DCEU. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but
He's the bad guy. Yeah. He's
Mm.
he's actually like a Batman villain too.
you know which one he's
Batman-
playing?
I believe it's Firefly, is it?
It's like
That's interesting that he's
DC.
in Doom Control and
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
It seems to be how it works, though. If you work for Disney, then they'll put you in Star Wars. If you work for
Yeah,
Warner
it's
Brothers, they'll put you in
Firefly.
DC. Firefly, okay.
Firefly is his name. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. And he's kind of like a pyro, basically. So there's a lot of fire involved in
All right. We're gonna have
Yeah.
some scorched Batgirl, is what you're saying. That makes sense.
yeah.
I'm digging it. Batgirl's one of my favorite characters, so I can't wait.
Yeah. I'm
That
excited.
said, this has been episode 35 of the Real Study Season 1, and I do thank our special guest, Ted Evans, for being here. Thank you,
Thanks so
Selva
much,
Walton
Ted.
Keys, for being
So
here.
good to hear that
Thanks for having me,
voice.
Thank you
guys.
so much, Ted.
Love you,
Right?
buddy.
Yeah.
I wish I had some clapping. I didn't
Love you
add any
guys.
in. That's terrible. I should have done that. But as
What?
always, we do a little thing on Twitch. It's called a raid, and we've
Take off
already
your
got it
shirt, Ted.
preloaded. I'm going to do that
Hey,
now.
Will, it's really hot.
Thank you guys all for being here, and hopefully we'll get Ted back here another time. Maybe we'll do an all voiceover night or something. So
Oh, that'd be cool.
I'd love to come back. This is a blast, guys.
awesome.
Awesome.
Good
Thanks,
to have
buddy.
you.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy.
All right, guys. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye, guys.
And we are